For those that make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it means you're among the elite, the greats of the game. Hager is the proud maker of the iconic Pro Football Hall of Fame gold jacket, and America's #1 selling suit jacket brand. Hager's expertly tailored, premium quality fabric with built-in stretch and incredible attention to detail dresses you for style, comfort, and class. Take advantage of all the incredible sales now throughout the holiday season. Go to Hager.com for every occasion. Wear what the greats wear. Visit Hager.com.
Studies show that 94% of female C-suite executives played sports. That's right, but today 7 out of 10 girls feel they don't belong in athletics.
That's why Bridgestone is partnering with professional football teams across the country to support girls' flag football leagues and provide them with STEM education through nonprofit Play Like a Girl.
I love this. When you pair organized sports with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, young girls can excel on the field and in the classroom and in any career.
Because learning to run, catch, and dodge matters, but learning to lead on the field so you can lead in any field, that's what really matters.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a Baller.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday, December 6th here, Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by Michael Wright and special guest, Andrew Holloway.
Why are you the Micro Machine guy right now? What is happening?
This is who I am. It's who I was born to be.
Was he going too quick?
It was real high pitched, real fast.
Yeah.
Slow down.
I think it's because, so I record with Betz a lot on this podcast, but also DFS and betting. And every single time I have to make sure I count it out so that I get in a nickname for him every episode. And that's what I'm used to. And I almost went with a nickname there for Andy, but
it's probably
Andrew.
Oh, Andrew? I could be Andrew on this show.
Chad, I don't know if you know what a nickname is.
Not your birth name? I always try to think of a birth name for somebody.
I just went with Andrew. But yeah, on this show, that could be your persona.
I'll just use their legal name.
The problem is when I hear Andrew, I immediately go into my mom is telling me to do something important. Like that is my mom calls me Andrew. It's like Andrew, go to your room.
Does she go Andy or just Andrew?
No, I'm Andrew.
Forever.
Huh. I'm Andrew for my mom. I don't know if my dad ever addresses me as with any name.
I let my parents know. I said, "Don't you ever call me Michael."
Do you? You made it very clear.
Back in 3rd grade.
Is that when you made your change?
Oh yeah,
that's when I made my change.
Yeah, because there was too many Michaels. There was not a single class in my entire life that there were not 2 to 3 Michaels.
So you just felt like you were in a sea with the rest of the world. You weren't unique. Yeah. You weren't identifiable as your own person. You just blended into the other Michaels.
Exactly.
And you said, you know what? I am Mike.
Yep.
Hear me roar.
That is exactly what happened.
I have felt that way whenever I've met a Kyle. I've said either we're going to be really good friends or I must destroy you because I don't know if we can be friends.
Interesting. So you have more of a face-off situation.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Do you feel like if you meet a Kyle and they're not living up to what you believe a Kyle should be, that's the ones you want to kind of take out?
We have pretty low bars for Kyles.
That makes sense.
There's not a lot of great ones.
We do too.
Oh, thanks. No, I'm feeling great about that. We are glad you're with us on the show today. We're going to be answering some Dynasty questions, talking about what makes a successful league. We'll throw out some player valuations. I think that's the biggest question that people have right now. What do I do with this player? What do I do going into the offseason if I'm a contender, rebuilding, all those things? So we'll talk about some of those players. If you want to be a part of this community, and right now I am staring at our Discord channels for Dynasty, you can go to jointhefoot.com. You can become a member, and we have a Dynasty Superflex channel, Dynasty Trade Advice, and we've got some pretty great stuff. Andy, you're pretty good at the pro tees for 2024.
Look, we genuinely, we like to have a lot of fun. Sometimes we even call each other by our legal names. But the truth is we are always trying to advance our product. And next year, We have a lot of huge things in store in terms of upgrading the experience of being a part of the Foot Clan. It's very important to us that we take that next step and that like the ease of use, the accessibility, the app, that is coming for next year, all of that stuff. We want to upgrade the Dynasty resources, right? Not just redraft, and we want to upgrade the actual, the apps and the web experience. So, Kyle's right. We have a lot coming your way, and this year, the Dynasty show, I'm privileged to be on it this week. I think I've been on it one or two other times this year, but like it's done. You guys have done a great job, and it's been awesome to see the response and people. They're into their Dynasty leagues, and that goes on, well into the off season. So the response has been awesome. I'm happy to be here today, and the Foot Clan, mighty and strong. I mean, at some point, the Foot Clan just overwhelms any amount of teasing that I can do, and they're their own, cloud of madness over on the Discord server, and you got to get in there.
Betz and I always joke about this, that while we could be doing so many things as a company, often it's like, okay, how can we improve? And then basically not ask anything more from people. It's like, we want to give you even more value for what you're already a part of. So it's a business strategy. I don't know if I agree with, guys, because people are getting more and more and more.
Yeah.
It's worked okay. We're going, next year is year 10, Kyle.
Kyle's the squeeze it out guy.
Yeah. He wants more money. Less product. Kyle's always saying, take some stuff away from them.
Yeah.
We always say that about DFS Pass. Like, hey, let's cram
That's
in some
true.
more stuff.
You do say that. Yeah, you're like, this is not fair to us. But no, it's fun. It's been a good ride. And the Discord, to speak of that, like that is, we have the largest fantasy football Discord channel in the world now and the most active. And like, I feel like I can say that because I'm not the one that's like Papa Josh is in there and the Dynasty folk are in there on a regular basis. And like, you guys have done a great job of just making that community strong.
I've got a question for us just to start us off before we get in the mailbag. This is from Dan from the website. And he says, I've heard you guys share on the main podcast what makes a good redraft league. Like the League of Record, we reference that a lot, keeper leagues. But for Dynasty leagues, do you have any tips for league engagement? What makes your Dynasty leagues successful?
Yeah, I mean, the Dynasty format is great because you have that continuation, almost anticipation that comes with the offseason, right? I mean, it's not just, you get the payoff of having your season play out, but so many teams in every league are building towards the future, looking towards the rookie draft, looking towards free agency.
Yeah, free agency is like, it's a almost immediate thing because this is the time of year, no matter if you're a contender or not, you're looking at players that, maybe I'll just stash this player on the end of my bench and see what happens. And then free agency hits, and all of a sudden that player is a new home, or that player, the starter in front of them ends up leaving town, and now there's an opportunity for that player. So there's multiple events throughout the year, the calendar year, where there's like big action happens for the rise or fall of Dynasty player value.
It feels almost like a Dynasty league is the maximum amount of like scratcher tickets that you get in a league format, because there's something about drafting a player and then having them materialize into like a valuable, like we make the joke, like our running joke is if a no-name player makes a play, the other person in the studio will go, oh, really? DeMario Douglas did that, huh? Who's got him in Dynasty?
Yeah.
Because it's like somehow they're yours, right? Like they're part of your family. So Mike used the right word, and I know you're going to talk about it too, Kyle, but just the idea of events. I mean, having things to look forward to in Dynasty for the league itself, nothing quite like a rookie draft, but every NFL event that happens is really an opportunity for the Dynasty League.
Yeah, and you can kind of place stuff ahead of you based on the league calendar. As we move towards January and then you get to playoffs, like there are opportunities for you as a commissioner or you as a league to set things in front of you. So an end of season review. I know a lot of leagues, League of Record, they've always had power rankings done by somebody. That's not the three of you guys. And that's amazing. Like to have that conversation, that discussion. I've done a league where at the NFL draft, we have a competition for who can get the most picks correct because we all care about those players. A lot of people watch college football. And whoever gets the most right, we have a prize. Like you get either a little bit more off-season fab, or maybe that determines the order of your 3rd or 4th round picks, which is a lot at stake. Like you get those picks. So there are little events that you can put in front of you for the rookie draft, for training camp hype, that if you do that, your league feels like, oh, we're not just waiting around till the rookie draft, but like the offseason is fun. The banter's fun. Their trades can happen. And I think a lot of leagues, and I see this a lot of times for you guys, people are curious, how do trades happen? And I feel like the only way to say that is just there's good communication in the league.
Yeah, and that used to be one of our like core tips for any league to be active, is just making sure there's a common, accessible, alerting messaging system. And so for us, for many years, it was Slack. Sleeper's done a good job of integrating the chat universe. So we kind of use Sleeper the majority of the time. But for some leagues, it's a text thread, right, that everybody is in on, or any of the messaging apps. But if you don't have a place to go to say who's got them in Dynasty, or a place to go to say, to kind of mock the like last year, this is what an event means. It doesn't just mean the NFL draft. An event is also when Zach Charbonnet is selected in the 1st round, and your friend has Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone's talking about the obvious implications of the move, and Mike is in the corner crying. Like, that's an event. Like a crying league mate is an event.
And it was.
And still probably is a little bit.
Yeah. He's not been doing as good, which is like, it sucks. I loved Zach Charbonnet, the player. I hated that he was drafted by Seattle, and because it's now I have to root against him. I have to actively hope that my analysis was wrong, that Pete Carroll and the Seahawks were wrong, and Zach Charbonnet is not that guy. So they keep Walker as the dude. This is a
see. I didn't mean to walk Mike into an actual analysis of his situation, but an event like that,
yeah,
he's in it forever.
I mean, half of Dynasty is just therapy based on my past decisions of what I did in this league.
Right.
And that's another fun thing if you want to dig up old rookie drafts and use that as conversation pieces.
Yeah, that's always a good time.
Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal that I drafted Darrington Evans before Antonio Gibson. No big deal. Like, I never think about that at all.
No, that's not something you would remember.
I am cursed. Mike has a great memory. I am cursed with the memory of where players went, their draft capital, all that stuff, so it sticks with me. And it's why I like this job, but also I hate it because I can't forget these players.
You almost need to write down the good moves you make so you can go look back that they exist.
Oh, I remember drafting Antonio Gibson in the late 2nd round. It was awesome. Got two years of an RB1 in the back of the 2nd.
Yeah.
So I just have to make good decisions, and then I can remember good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I'll remember that moving forward. But today on the show, we're going to be answering some listener questions. So let's get into it.
Mailbag.
All right, if you want to get your questions answered best, I would recommend our Discord channel. We have a Dynasty trade advice, Dynasty Superflex. I mean, people are talking all the time in there, and I'm going to grab some of our questions today from our Discord channel. But this first one is from Ernesto, and I think this is a great opening question, and I think you guys get this a lot. What is the best argument to convince lifelong redrafters to switch to a Dynasty league? Or would you rather create a side Dynasty league with the same owners parallel to the long-standing redraft league?
You create the parallel. You need to give everyone a chance. And the hardest thing, well, that's being too much, but a difficult thing of Dynasty is you cannot argue with someone. Don't argue someone to join your league, because if they don't want to do it, if they don't already have this itch of, oh, I want to do a Dynasty league, I want to experience that. If they have to be convinced into the Dynasty league, you have the potential that in a year
you're finding a new manager. And that can be very difficult to, depending on what that player did with the team. Maybe it's in fine shape and someone can just take over it, or maybe someone has to take over a team that's garbage and now has to scratch and claw through a rebuild, which a rebuild in Dynasty, sometimes it's real fast, but sometimes it's multiple years. So I would never argue with someone to be in the league. And we created the parallel league. There is a huge amount of crossover, but there's probably, maybe four people
in the Dynasty League who are not in the League of
Right.
Record.
Yeah.
So it's not everybody because Dynasty is not for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those are all good points. I mean, you don't want to have to battle to get somebody to commit. You can make the case as to why it's valuable, and then if they're excited about it, that makes sense. We're not saying that like you just wait for everybody to come running to you, but you know, it does take more commitment to make it a league that's enjoyable. And I'd rather have a smaller league at 10 teams or 12 teams than a 14-team league with like 3 or 4 dead teams. So that's another important thing to remember.
It's always hard because you don't want to ruin what you already have, and that's its own league. But you want to ride the excitement of people that, hey, you know, they want to be in another league. They want to be around the rookie draft. Like there's just different points of the year that we talked about earlier. So yeah, I have a Superflex Dynasty League that I started with some friends who, you know, they kind of dipped their toes in, but it was really simple to get a draft together. We actually had a live draft for it, which was amazing. And then we went to 10 teams because we wanted to make sure that we had committed people as opposed to just, you know, moving on. So next question from Baseball Card Kid, which I think could have been my handle, could have been Andy's handle.
Right.
And anyone who's close to our age, it could have been their handle.
Were you basketball cards, Mike?
No, I was originally baseball. I mean, I had basketball cards, but I, like everyone, my father had a friend who was thoroughly convinced that baseball cards would pay for my college education. It would be that heirloom that I could have in a bank deposit box that I would be able to sell later on.
You just didn't get the right cards.
I mean, I feel like everyone's dad was either that person or that everyone's dad had that friend who convinced them that this is the future.
Yeah, because at that time everybody was like, the old cards were worth a lot of money, and everybody was thinking about that. So,
no, we all have 1990s cards that are worth jack squat.
Yeah, because everyone has Ken Griffey's rookie card. Everybody.
So this question from Baseball Card Kid is, what is the value of Saquon Barkley? And I think these are a lot of the questions we're going to get, but Saquon, 26.8 years old, entering a contract year. And just to give you context, before the season, he was seen almost universally as a top 5 dynasty running back. And I don't think that we would put him there before.
You mean after?
Or after. I don't think we'd put him there after.
I'm probably on the most bullish about Saquon list.
Still top 5 for you?
I think he could be right around there. Yeah, and that just has to do with watching him on the football field this year. And I know we got those overarching, like he goes off the field, he looks like he's hurt. Like I actually think that Saquon has looked as good as you can look in the environment and situation that he was in this year in New York. So, you know, there are players out there, like I think he looks better than Joe Mixon does, right? Like I think he looks better than a number of players that are going to expire sooner, and he's not that old. So I guess I'm more, so Bijan's ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
CMC is,
I think he's still ahead.
Ahead.
Even though he's
Gibbs is
older.
still ahead. And then, you know, you have an argument with probably Etienne ahead.
Did you say Brees?
I didn't say Brees.
You're getting real nervous from this couple game stretch here?
I'm getting a little nervous about the stretch. I'll put Brees ahead of him because the truth is I would take that. But, I mean, 6? I mean, that's in contention, 6 or 7?
Well, what about Johnny Taylor? I would take Johnny Taylor.
We need more information on Saquon this offseason. Is he going back to New York? Is he departing? The destination will matter.
It's tough because you're buying into a running back where, you know, the destination matter, but turning 27. Okay,
I know. He should be behind JT.
Okay, so somewhere maybe RB6 to RB8 range.
Still top 10.
Would you rather have, Andy, this is a running back future for you.
Taylor's little less than 2 years younger, I think, or right around there.
Would you rather have Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, those two are great because they're both the Dynasty franchise players this year, and I think they're the exact same age, right? Or maybe Jacobs is a year younger. Yeah, he's a little bit younger. I'll take Saquon in that situation because what I saw in the field this year from Saquon was still at a level that's different than Josh Jacobs, in my opinion.
And, we can change our opinions as we get more information throughout the offseason. But I think what you're saying is his skills didn't totally vanish with a terrible team. I mean, this team went in the absolute gutter this year. So 26.8, though, is starting to get to the point where you want to get out earlier. And that's kind of the strategy that we've talked about a lot on the show. Like, what would it take for you to move Saquon? Would you need a first and, I don't know if you can get 2 firsts for Saquon.
There was a point this past offseason where I tried to move Christian McCaffrey in our main league. And the greatest thing that ever happened to me was this other manager saying no. Because I was at the point with McCaffrey, and I know he's an outlier. I mean, he's an outlier like a handful of players have been. But, like, Saquon's still in that category for me. Like, the amount of work that Saquon bears and the production that he puts up there, I still think he has the possibility of being one of those players that people try to get out of and look to regret it. That's just me.
For our league, again, it's just that's a one-off, but the manager who has Saquon is in a rebuilding team. I mean, this is it's not a basement-dwelling team, but it's not a competitor. And I, in the middle of the year, was looking at trying to get Saquon Barkley, and it was, for their asking price, was 2 firsts and a good player. So, at least in our league, the value of him to trade him was they still wanted everything.
Where did those guys slot in for you guys? I mean, that's what I'm curious
about. For Saquon?
About. Yeah, the Jacobs discussion or the Brees discussion.
I still would put Brees very, very high. Brees, it's like the argument for Garrett Wilson hasn't moved down for me. I still think Garrett Wilson's a great player, and next year it's probably Rodgers. So Rodgers on this team with Brees Hall as the running back this year is very, very different. I would put them in that second tier where they're in from 6 to 10. The other player that I thought was kind of interesting to add back into this mix, because this guy was a top 10 running back before entering the season, it was Tony Pollard.
Oh,
and
boy.
Then it was very the beginning there was great, like running back 5, 15, 14, and then you had this lull that was so disappointing. But guess who's back to dominating? It's Tony Pollard.
Would you call this dominating?
Running back 12, 9, and 13.
I don't call that dominating. When I watch those games, I'm like, he finally got in the end zone. 12, 9, and 13 isn't good enough for me. That's
a high bar.
Yeah, it's a.
So McCaffrey's dominating, but who else is actually then?
All I mean by that is that where he was drafted and the way people thought about him. If we're now at the point where his great games are ones where he's not in the top 5, then that's a change of our view of him, in my opinion. Do you disagree?
From the previous year.
Yeah, from the previous year, from our expectations going into this season.
So,
was he over 100 yards in any of those games?
No.
So, I mean, I'm not saying he's not playing well. I'm just saying it kind of seems.
Okay, then
maybe I have a higher bar.
Is David Montgomery dominating?
No.
Okay.
No, he's not. He was, but he's not anymore.
So with Saquon Barkley, there's also a group of young running backs that I think are pushing into that top 10, like Devon Achane. I think he belongs in the top 10 Dynasty running backs.
It's really hard to – it's only 3 games, but it's very difficult to look at those 3 games and not extrapolate and be like, yeah, this is more you'll get more of this than you will get failure.
Well, and Mostert's like he's already pushed the envelope. Like his production at 30, he's 30, right?
At least
30 or 31.
I feel like he's 31.
Yeah, I mean he's. I saw some tweet.
31 and a half.
I saw a tweet that he's like 4 full years older than Joe Mixon, which is wild to think about it from a production perspective. But yeah, the path for Achane, based on what we've seen, is quite remarkable.
I think as we get to the offseason, we have some running backs that are going to change teams. We have some other young guys that, Kenneth Walker, I don't know what to do with him. So there's a number of guys in that 6 to 10, and then even guys in the top 15 that last year felt like locks to stay there are now just vanished, gone. Like Austin Eckler was RB13, RB14, and now it's just vanished. So we'll be talking about those all off season in the Dynasty Pass, everywhere else. But Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
To be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame means you're among an elite class representing the greats of the game. The gold jacket given to those in the Pro Football Hall of Fame represents their achievements of greatness that only a few have reached. Hager has been the proud maker of the iconic Pro Football Hall of Fame gold jacket since 1978 and is America's #1 selling suit jacket brand. You don't have to be inducted to the Hall of Fame to elevate your style and dress like the best. Hager has you covered for every occasion. From the big interview, big promotion, or next wedding season, Hager gives you the confidence and look that you deserve. Hager's expertly tailored, premium quality fabric with built-in stretch and incredible attention to detail meets the demand for style, comfort, and class. That's why the greats wear Hager. Take advantage of all the incredible sales now throughout the holiday season at Hager.com. Wear what the greats wear. Visit Hager.com for every occasion.
Hey, this is Peter Schrager from the podcast The Season with Peter Schrager, and it is football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do they mean by almost? Can Uber Eats deliver you foam fingers? No. Chicken fingers? Yes. Touchdown dances? No. Buttermilk ranches? Yes. Field goals? No. Grilling coals? Yes. Running backs, no. Ribs, yes. Blitzes, no. Beers, yes. Defense, no. Deodorant, yes. Game-clinching turnovers? No. But pastry turnovers? You know, the kind with the delicious apple filling? Yes. Because that's groceries. And you can get those delivered with Uber Eats, too, along with food from your favorite restaurants and other essentials. And the best part, you can get it all without missing a second of the action on your TV. And there you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. You can get alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See the app for details.
All right, we're back, and this question's from Barry on Twitter.
Barry.
Says, I'm the commissioner.
Nice.
I'm the commissioner, and we are having our year one coming to an end. What if not all of the managers are coming back? I know to replace them, but what if the team is really bad?
I mean, you don't have a choice. You have to replace, unless you want to do some kind of, like shrinking of the league. Like you're at 12 teams and you lose 2 managers and you want to go down to 10 and
shrinkage.
Yes. You toss it into cold water.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I was in the pool.
Figure out what you're going to do with the players. If it's some kind of, if they just go into the rookie draft, you can figure something out. But so I mean, yeah, I don't know what the question is. If you have to do something, you can't just have a team out there in the ether just floating around.
So what stinks is if you have 11 committed managers.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I have to find a 12th or, 9, whatever the number is. So at the end of the day, I think you just have to get people to sign up for what they're signing up for. This is a multi-year thing. It's Dynasty. You're not just in 1 year and you're out, but you need to get to an even number. So I would say it's better if you have 10 than if you have 11 or if you're trying to fill it. But hopefully you can find somebody else for it. But yeah, if the team's bad, that happens all the time. Like we talk about that all the time in dynasties.
Yeah.
You're inheriting a team that truly stinks, and the NFL has that right now. They're called the Panthers.
Yeah.
And I mean, in dynasties, sorry, Mike, but I was just going to teams that appear one way, that reality of that situation, it can change quicker than sometimes people expect.
Sure. I was going to throw out just the idea off the top of my head. If somehow you are stuck with 11, I don't know how it would work within the platform or the system, but you can just have one team a week plays against the league median or something like that. So, which, I mean, I don't think that's a terrible bar saying this person has to score inside of the top 6 of scores for this week to get a win. Otherwise, it's garbage and you shouldn't have won anyway. So it's at least a ripcord if you're stuck with an odd amount of teams.
Got a couple questions here about rookie picks, and I know we're not quite into 2024, but it is something that people are starting to think about. This first one's from FF Mallard. What are some strategies to avoid first-round bust picks? As in, this is my first year in Dynasty. How do you not, pick Trey Sermon over Jalen Waddle?
Well, That one is don't. It's a pretty good bet. Don't take a 3rd-round running back over a 1st-round wide receiver. Now, do we have a 3rd-round running back this year? Who
that was like boosted up?
Are they like better than Huge?
Kendre Miller got
boosted
up.
He's not done anything. Oh, Achane, right? Achane was a 3rd-rounder, wasn't he?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
He was like a late 1st-round rookie pick.
Yeah, but I can't imagine there was a lot of rookie drafts that had someone take Achane over Quentin Johnston. I'm sure it happened somewhere, but not a ton.
Right.
I mean, the honest truth is to avoid 1st-round bust picks it's not possible. Not possible at all. You just have to do your best of your scouting and
Well, I think can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because of the Trey Sermon example, wouldn't you say that there were some fallacies in that kind of a decision-making process? Like you mentioned the rounds, but it was also putting confidence not in the player Trey Sermon, but in the situation.
Yes.
And the system. So I think that there were like
and Waddle was a top 5 pick, right?
And people were terrified.
6. I'm sorry. Top 6
people were
pick.
terrified of his situation.
Yeah, because it was awful. It was truly awful, and that's why we talk about talent over situation, because talent doesn't change, but situation can.
Yeah, and I think that's when the person asked, "What can I do to lower the odds?"
Yeah, that's how you have to look at it.
That's one of the ways that you can lower the odds.
Yep.
Yes.
But then just figure out what your process is. Hopefully part of your process is our Dynasty Pass, which we are extremely proud of the work we put out there that comes out every Super Bowl Sunday, and that includes our rookie rankings. You know, we give multiple updates to it because things change after the combine and then things change after the draft. But our rankings based off of our scouting, and our scouting is analytically based. We give you their production profiles, as in how well did that player take a portion of their team. Because in college, you can't just do yards. You can't look at a team like Tennessee, like the Volunteers, the past couple of years with Hendon Hooker, and then put them up against a team that just that's not how they play offense. How much does someone dominate in their own offense? Those type of things, and then starting to look at the film, looking for the traits that you have that you find to be most sticky. And for me, I'm looking, like in running backs, I'm looking for balance, and then initial speed, balance, and then kind of top end speed on top of all the pass catching stuff. But just like you'll hone your process over some years of playing.
Yeah, we started looking at some of the quarterbacks just kind of in our chat, looking at some of those Jaden Daniels of LSU for this next year.
Yeah.
And, who's former Arizona State guy, but just those initial conversations that we're having, and then it translates to not just watching the game film, but their production and how does it line up with other players. But my last little point for avoiding picks is just don't go into the draft and say, this is what my team needs. And don't go into the draft saying, like, I'm in love with this player, this is the only person I take. Like, yes, pick your guys that you like, but just be open. Be open to the fact that you could be wrong about certain players. You could be really wrong about, hey, this running back, I don't need it for my team, when in Dynasty, things can change in 6 months. Like, you might need a running back, or you might need a wide receiver. So just be open.
Then it's just like redraft. This is not stat-based, because this is all emotional. Don't pick a guy that you don't want just because, like, the NFL or other people are telling you to draft that player. Whiffing on a player you didn't like feels way worse than whiffing on a player that you believed in.
What's humbling and maybe encouraging to you if you make a mistake is that there are a lot of teams that drafted players ahead of Puka Nacua this year.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of teams that have, the top, Quentin Johnston was the first wide receiver off the board. And, if you don't want to make a mistake in the beginning, as you develop that process, you can lean into the draft capital as maybe your biggest point. But man, it's kind of wild.
Look back at your rookie drafts in your league. I mean, I look back and say, hey, maybe I missed something with Terrace Marshall. He was drafted in the second round. I liked him, but
I liked him too.
The something that
so young
is I think starting to surface more and more is guys that cannot separate in college.
Oh yeah,
and they're still getting drafted high because the NFL probably overvalues a winner, a 50-50 ball winner, and because that's what Quentin Johnston is supposed to be. He is currently not. It's not over for him yet, but saying
but it's painful.
But there are guys where looking at their separation numbers and their analytics, I can't think of the names off the top of my head, but it was like the string of early round players who have failed miserably of late were these players that they were 50-50 winners and they got in the NFL.
N'Keal Harry.
Exactly. And it's like they don't separate. Like they can be athletic and everything, but sometimes guys just don't know how to play wide receiver and can't separate because they've leaned on their athleticism too long. And then they go to the NFL and they realize, oh, everybody is bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah,
Is that a Harry groan?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Harry Quentin Johnston comparison is it's sad.
Yeah.
I was looking at the rookie wide receivers this year that have showed out in targets per out run, yards per out run, the stuff we talk about a lot. Puka Nacua, drafted in the 5th round. Rashee Rice, who right now is being targeted on 26% of its route. He was taken in the 2nd round.
Yep.
55th overall.
Nice.
Demario Douglas, he's being targeted on 26% of its routes. Taken in the 6th round. Tank Dell. These are the guys that are crushing.
I think
and coming in.
I think Dontavian Wicks is leading the Packers in yards per route run.
Really?
I think so.
You just wanted to get in.
Yeah, I just like to talk about Dontavian Wicks whenever I can. He's on. Who has him in Dynasty?
That's what it is. I had him at one point. I must have dropped him.
Well, sure did because he's on my roster.
And you picked him up, huh?
Yeah. Who has Puka and Tank? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And JSN.
Nice. The team that's going to get the first overall pick. That's who.
You guys are going to be in some trouble eventually here.
I know.
Eventually.
This is a great question. I saw this one on Twitter that was given to us, and I paused for a while. It's from Nick. He says, has CeeDee Lamb's value passed Jamar Chase's value in Dynasty?
No.
Ooh, I think it's
not for me.
I think it's an interesting question. I would say no, but
what's the case for?
The case for is that Jamar Chase's quarterback is just like a walking injury. I mean, like Joe Burrow just keeps getting hurt. And just seeing that stretch run that CeeDee Lamb has had really since just before the bye week has been, I mean, it's been nonstop. Where even when Jamar Chase,
he's number 1 in points per game.
When Jamar Chase is dominating for Jamar Chase, there's still real ebbs and flows. So I think it's a recency bias question.
It does feel that way,
but
the gap has closed.
Yeah,
from
I
what
think
it was
has closed. So is CeeDee Lamb firmly your number 3 guy behind Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase? Or is there a chance that
Tyreek?
Yeah, I guess you could say Tyreek. I was going to say, is there a chance that you would rather have CeeDee Lamb with the upcoming quarterback drama that will be happening for the Minnesota Vikings?
Over Jefferson.
Yeah, because it's I don't know if it's Kirk. If it is Kirk, he's coming off an Achilles injury.
What's the age difference
for CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase? I'll look that up.
And Jefferson.
I will look all of that up.
Yes, you will.
We talked about before the season when we talked about Jefferson or Chase. We said there is a risk factor of we don't know this player beyond this year because Jefferson was just firmly 1, Chase 2, and we kind of made the argument like you can pick either one. It's totally fine. Jefferson is 24 years old. So and then CeeDee Lamb is 24.6.
Yeah.
Basically the same age.
CeeDee Lamb is a couple months older than Jefferson, and Jamar is about a year younger, a little less than a year.
I mean, it's hard not to react to this kind of elite run. I feel like wouldn't we be having a conversation about A.J. Brown if it happened?
Yeah, well, I think he was.
During the 4-week run that he had of over 150 yards or whatever it was.
Into the season, he was my number 3.
There you go. I mean, so it does feel a little bit like, let's settle down. Jamar Chase is the best athlete outside of maybe Jefferson. So to me, I would put CeeDee Lamb 3 or 4.
All right.
But I don't, I'm one dude.
Where do you got him, Kyle?
I think so. Before it was a tier of its own before the season, I think that you can really flip a coin of like where 2 and 3 is. I would put Chase 1, and I had Chase 1 before the season. So there's so much risk with Jefferson right now. I don't know what his team looks like, but he's a dominator. So it's kind of splitting hairs at the end of the day. But CeeDee Lamb right now is probably going to go on one of those runs like you saw with DeAndre Hopkins, where it's just like every year he's the primary target, and you get 4 or 5 years in a row of just elite production. So I'm kind of
Well, I'll tell you
I'm
this.
excited.
Let me tell you this. I have it's not a dynasty league. It's our keeper league. And I made a trade at the deadline to pick up CeeDee Lamb. And our keeper league has very unique rules where you have a franchise player you select, and then you have 3 keepers, and they can't match positions.
The 3 keepers can match themselves, but they cannot match the franchise.
So if you keep a running back, all of your if you franchise a running back, all of your other keepers for the keeper lottery have to be different positions. I fully expected when I made that trade that I'd be franchising Saquon Barkley, and then CeeDee Lamb would be in my lottery with Devontae Adams and Tank Dell. I'm almost 100% sure CeeDee Lamb is my franchise player at this point. Like, I don't want to lose him with the potential. And, like, Dak's going to get paid again because they have to. They don't have a choice. And they have to because they have to free up their cap space.
And they should.
And they should, which is something worth saying.
Yeah, like Dak should be their quarterback.
Agreed.
All right, next question is about Kyler, and you guys can probably give best understanding of whatever's going on with Kyler and in Dynasty. So this one's from Ryan and from Mitch. What is Kyler's valuation? And then someone asked, would you rather have Kyler or Trevor Lawrence in Dynasty? And I gave us a list of players that we can also compare, but Kyler feels like you could firmly make him a top 10 quarterback, and then you could also make the case for a lot of these other guys.
So I think what's going on the last month of Kyler, because Kyler, if you're watching the Arizona games, he does not look like the Kyler Murray that we are used to.
He still made some elite plays.
Yes, yeah. You can the talent is still there, and you can see it flash. But he's a guy who is still coming off of an ACL injury. He's getting back into football, and it's a brand new offense that he didn't have a training camp. He had a 21-day window to actually practice. And now was Kyler hitting the books before he came off of the IR? I hope. I don't know. You can make some assumptions of things that we've heard in the past, but Kyler to me is still a top 10 quarterback. But my larger point is, I think Kyler is the quarterback of the future for the Arizona Cardinals, even if they end up with the top 2 pick. And I think he will get better. Like next year, I think will be much, much better for Kyler, especially with.
Is that your way of picking Kyler in that situation?
Over Trevor Lawrence?
Over Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah.
I'm not that direction.
You would take Lawrence?
Because I don't want to be caught holding the bag. And I think that there is 0% chance that happens with Trevor Lawrence.
I think you're correct that you may not be holding the bag, but I think that the Trevor Lawrence will always be that quarterback 8-ish.
You're looking. Do you think? So you think Kyler has the ability to be?
Yes, I think
higher. I don't know. I think that might have come and gone.
He still runs. He's going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. on this team.
You think so?
Are you guys?
I think so.
I was going to ask. Do you guys hope they get with the second or third pick? That's what they do.
Nothing I want more in life.
Yeah, I honestly think that if they end up with number 2, because the Patriots somehow end up 3rd, you flip down, you let the Patriots take the quarterback, and then you take the wide receiver. You have to equip this team because the team doesn't have weapons right now.
That's what you feel when you watch the game. Like you can put it on Kyler, but at the same time he's throwing to Dortch. And he's throwing to an injured
elite tight end.
He does. He's the best tight end that's ever played football in the history of the NFL. Gold jacket. I mean, there is no McBride. Tony Gonzalez wishes he was Trey McBride.
Does. because he'd be a lot younger and he could go play football again.
Okay,
I
that
love
part's true.
Trey. He's my tight end on my main 2 home leagues, and I'm just ride him.
Can we just
Not
get
this
somebody
week.
that doesn't have Trey McBride on all of their core rosters to comment on what they believe about Trey McBride? Because I can't handle Mike.
Here is my comment. Kyler Murray has been here 4 weeks. He's played 4 games. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's correct. Who is the tight end 1 in that time frame? Tight end 1.
Yeah, okay.
It is, in fact, Trey McBride. Let's go, baby. To the moon.
I don't feel like there's a way for me to speak. I feel like I am muted by your jersey that you're wearing. And the truth is that I think Trey McBride will be very good. I don't think he's a perennial top 5.
Ooh.
I think that's fair.
I think he can be, but I don't think he is now. And there's a huge difference between those two. Mike wants to lock that in.
Yeah.
You'd put him above the Goddard tier.
I would put him in the
Yes.
Goddard tier.
I'd put him above the Goddard tier.
No.
Yeah.
Or in Dynasty, maybe.
Yeah.
In
That's
Dynasty,
what I'm talking
maybe.
about, in
Yeah.
Dynasty.
Well, who
that's-
knows what you're talking about anymore
Yeah. I mean, what? Tight end 1.
of all time.
Yeah.
I don't
Trey
hate it at
McBride, look, if Marvin Harrison takes 150 targets and
And McBride takes the other 150. We're good to go, man. Consolidate those targets, Arizona.
all right, I'm in. McBride, number 1 tight end all time. Take him number 101 in Dynasty.
All right, let's take one more break, and we'll be right back.
To be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame means you're among an elite class representing the greats of the game. The gold jacket given to those in the Pro Football Hall of Fame represents their achievements of greatness that only a few have reached. Hager has been the proud maker of the iconic Pro Football Hall of Fame gold jacket since 1978 and is America's #1 selling suit jacket brand. You don't have to be inducted to the Hall of Fame to elevate your style and dress like the best. Hager has you covered for every occasion. From the big interview, big promotion, or next wedding season, Hager gives you the confidence and look that you deserve. Hager's expertly tailored, premium quality fabric with built-in stretch and incredible attention to detail meets the demand for style, comfort, and class. That's why the greats wear Hager. Take advantage of all the incredible sales now throughout the holiday season at Hager.com. Wear what the greats wear. Visit Hager.com for every occasion.
It's football season, and now you can get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do they mean by almost? Can Uber Eats deliver foam fingers? No. But chicken fingers? Yes. Touchdown dances? No. Buttermilk ranches? Yes. Field goals? No. Grilling coals? Yes. Running backs? No. Ribs? Yes. Blitzes? No. Beers? Yes. Defense? No. Deodorant? Yes. Game-clinching turnovers? No. But pastry turnovers, the kind with delicious apple filling? Oh, yeah. Because that's groceries. And get those delivered with Uber Eats, too, along with food from your favorite restaurants and other essentials. And the best part? You can get it all without missing a second of the action on your TV. There you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
All right, we're back with a question that I feel super selfish about, but someone asked. And then also, this can help Andy.
Was that person you, Kyle?
I am not Zamboni Cody, but I do like that name, Zamboni Cody. He says, what do I do with Keenan Allen? And I think you can just live your life and love it and enjoy it. But Andy, you do have Keenan Allen in Dynasty. And I feel like there's not much you can do other than ride this player until the wheels fall off.
You're probably right, although I do wonder. I don't think his trade value is nothing after this season. And so, he's just been so good. I think you might be able to sell somebody on him repeating what he did this year. He's definitely in the category of players that you just ride until the wheels fall off. But I mean, think about it with Mike Evans. Can I bring him up in the same conversation?
Sure.
Because Mike Evans, nobody wanted him in Dynasty, right? Like he was the like I had Chris Godwin and then I traded Chris Godwin and for Mike Evans and something.
Mm-hmm.
And then nobody wanted Mike Evans. And now Mike Evans had another 1,000-yard season, and he's going to get paid money. Like, Mike Evans is ending this season, and he's going to sign a contract with somebody. Maybe with Tampa, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I could trade either one of those guys, I'm doing it. I mean, I am going to sell those two guys. Now, I hope it's after a title, because then I'll be willing to take less on the dollar. But both feel like guys that you're stuck just playing until the wheels fall off, for sure.
Yeah,
but you're telling me you wouldn't, if you were like your team, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just play this out for a second. Your team is great. In fact, I looked at your team after this past week, which you scored the highest points in Dynasty, and you're still fighting to get in. Like, I guess you're locked in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm
now.
locked now.
But you were paranoid last night.
Yes.
And you've got Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb.
Yes.
Like, are you telling me you wouldn't want Keenan Allen as a flex on that roster if you were going for a title next year?
I would enjoy it.
I think
very
you would
much.
love it. And you might pay some future for the now. And there might be some now teams that would pay. That's my opinion. Like, if I was going for the title, guess what I did? I traded for Keenan Allen and Mike Evans on the cheap this year. And that's how it's played out. My team has been the best team in the league.
It is 100% a very viable strategy. Now, it doesn't go, and by the strategy, I mean targeting veterans for much cheaper than trading for the new hotness. Because we all want the young, the new hotness player who looks like they're about to go on a 3 to 4 year run. But there's these old guys that they are very proven players, and they continue to be great. Keenan Allen, getting back to the guy at hand, like, what can the Chargers even do going into next year? Mike Williams is still under contract. Am I right there,
No,
Kyle?
I think he's a free agent.
Yeah,
he's a free agent. I think he's entering his third year, which is what he signed.
Okay, let's verify that, because then that changes
while you
how
look
I
at
think
that,
about it.
Mike used a word there that I think needs to take higher precedent in dynasty leagues, and the word is proven. Okay,
he's got one more year.
Yep. Okay.
He's Evans. Who does?
Mike Williams.
One more.
Yep.
Okay, but recovering from major injury, and hasn't been fantasy relevant in a while.
But
right?
no, that I'll get.
So you're
to
saying, what can the team do?
Yeah. So what can they possibly do? Mike Williams is coming back. They're locked into Quentin Johnston.
Yeah. This is who they're running back.
Are they going to spend another first or second round on a wide receiver? And
No.
if they don't, then Keenan Allen.
No, because they need a running back. That's
right.
what they need.
Because Keenan Allen will still be this guy, and the skill set of separation that Keenan Allen has, that
Ages well.
That I don't think that disappears next year. All right, so
so my point on the proven thing was just that on paper, you're like, I'd love to lock in like Garrett Wilson and Terry McLaurin on my roster this year and start them as my wideouts, because they're just going to go on this run for many, many, many years. Mike Evans and Keenan Allen were by far the better selection in that group.
Yes.
It's like, we've said this so many times, you don't just play for tomorrow. Otherwise, your championship's always going to be a tomorrow away. You're never going to be in the present. You know, my team, I got lucky to a degree. Like
you have hit on almost all of your old guys.
But like Raheem Mostert, I've had for 3 years of dominance. You know, Keenan Allen and Adam Thielen and the Tyler Lockett, like this old group of guys getting you through. Proven is the word I wanted to pay attention to there. It doesn't have to be old.
Yes.
You're not looking for old. You're looking for proven. And if someone thinks a proven player is old before they really are not good, that's your value add.
Assuming you're underpaying. Like, do not pay.
Correct.
Don't pay full draft.
I'm telling you, no one wanted Mike Evans. No
Dude,
one.
I
no
know
one.
because I had Mike Evans from the beginning of our Dynasty League through I had him for, I don't even remember, 8 years. And at the trade deadline when I was looking, I have to rebuild. And Mike Evans is an elite wide receiver, and I felt like I was taking crazy pills because no one would even give me a first for him. I'm like,
You fought to do, yeah.
I'm like, it's Mike Evans. The guy has never had fewer than 1,000 yards. That was 2 years ago. And
these narratives that stay in people's minds, man, they make it hard to trade them. But I do. Am I wrong that narrative gets changed a little bit this year with Evans and Keenan? Or
it may.
But
they
shift. Just get a year older, Kyle, and it doesn't matter?
It should. I mean, this year is going to stay with people. Like, these guys crushed for fantasy. It's just more of asking the question of what are you willing to take to trade them away. It's like you'd want at least a first for Keenan Allen, but maybe somebody's like, and maybe you don't even care about draft picks, Andy, because you just light yours on fire and say, see ya. But
can't wait to get one.
It's working.
I cannot wait to get another first-round pick that I can trade, baby.
It's like your allowance. So
it is. It's like I get it, and it burns a hole in my pocket.
And you're like, well, Andy, here's your 3 draft picks.
But, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Wisely. Like, I know it's fun to get the young, amazing player.
Mm-hmm.
But we just had a question on how you fail. How do I not draft a bust in the first round? Okay? This is a major concern.
Draft a proven veteran.
I feel like that's what I'm doing, right? I'm drafting a proven player with my draft pick by trading the pick for the player. And they're proven, they're on my team. They don't last as long, but I just do it again next year.
Yeah, as long as you can continue to hit on some good trade aways so you can kind of reload your ammunition. We have you and we have Brooks.
Yeah.
Those 2 teams have been contenders for the last 4 or 5 years in the Dynasty League, and I don't know that if either of you has made a draft pick in that time. You always trade them away, but you're always near the top. But if you don't get that good trade away, the creditors will come calling eventually.
So they've been telling me. They've been telling me for 10 years.
I like Brooks's team.
They've been calling. They might have been.
It's coming.
I think they're catching up, and I don't know. We'll see.
Look,
maybe you change your address and you dodge them one more year.
I don't know if I can dodge them one more year. I've got Travis Kelce at tight end. Who are my running back? Christian McCaffrey I tried to get rid of. Alvin Kamara. I mean, this is a withering tree that is producing fruit right now.
But it's the number 1 team in the league.
Give me one more season of fruit. But I am number 1, yes.
By a lot.
Yeah.
It is worth saying, when you're saying trade away first, like these are like the 109s, the 110s.
Oh, yeah, for me, they're late.
And so I think that's what's important. If people hear a first, like, oh, I want a first. Like, okay, well, the hit rate of the 111 and what you're getting there is just so different.
But no one thinks about what pick it will be. Every time I trade my pick, they all assume by that point in time, I will be the worst team. Therefore, the pick will be great.
Yeah, I have your 2025 firsts.
And
so
you?
I'm hoping the next couple of years.
So you're telling me I should target Saquon, is what you're telling me this offseason?
I guess so.
You should never trade Keenan. That's my advice. One more question here, and this one is a loaded one about the Texans, who probably are the team we talked about shockingly the most in Dynasty. Like on this show, we've talked about Tank Dell a ton. We've talked about C.J. Stroud, toot our horn, a lot because he's awesome. But Nico Collins, what is his value? This is a question from Kane Gooden and from Jameer. They're trying to figure out, what do I do with Collins and what do I do now with Tank Dell? So how are you guys seeing this team and how they sort things out beyond just this year?
I think this is a great question because I have seen a very wide range of opinions on Nico Collins, from like Nico Collins is him. Like he is that guy. He's going to, continue to be great. He is in year 3. So he has one more year of his contract before he has to get paid the extension by the Texans or another team. I've also seen people saying Tank is the future. Like Tank is one of the future pieces, but Nico may not. Like I expect the Houston Texans to try and make a splash either in free agency or with a draft pick. Now they don't have a first, and try and bring in another high value wide receiver, rendering Nico Collins to the third option, and you have Tank Dell, the rookie, and Nico. I am more of the side that I think that Nico Collins is a really, really good dynasty asset to have. I think he's a very solid player, and I think that he, like this Tank Dell injury has created such an opportunity for him to really establish the value for the team. If Nico Collins balls out the rest of the year, I would think they move forward with Nico Tank Dell, and then whatever the other pieces. I don't know Noah Brown's or Robert Woods' contract situation off the top of my head. I think Woods might have one more year.
Yeah, Woods doesn't matter. Noah Brown doesn't matter. Nico,
has Nico moved into a blue chip type of player for you, or is he still someone that you have concerns could be replaced?
There's one name that pops into my head when I think about Nico in Dynasty, and I'll ask you guys this question. It's T. Higgins. In the future of T. Higgins versus the future of Nico Collins, who would you rather have in a Dynasty league?
That is a devastating question.
Right? I'm telling you.
You're also asking the worst two people about T. Higgins on the planet.
Right, the most biased against him.
Well,
in the history,
only
the
because
most hurt.
I think they're the same age. Okay, so T. Higgins is 24. You said Nico is 24. I think so Higgins is like a couple months older. So they're the same age. T might get paid this offseason.
He will. But who pays him?
Is it the Giants? Is it Kansas City? And does he stay healthy? The health has been a major problem. I don't look at Nico Collins as a bona fide one going on into the future.
Same. I agree.
I think he's a great two. I do. I think he's a great two. I think he's a great compliment to, like, they could go forward with Nico and Tank Dell, and I think they could get by pretty well. And they could add a wide receiver 2 type of splash. Noah Brown and Robert Woods won't be there a long time. Maybe they add a Deontay style player to that offense at some point in time. So when I look at Nico in Dynasty versus Higgins, I see more upside for Higgins because I think the contract that he gets paid is going to be more.
Right.
I don't know if Nico Collins, he's got a long way to go to earn a 2025 contract. That's like what T. Higgins is probably going to demand. He's just got to put in another full year like that with Tank Dell and Stroud. So, if Nico Collins could be cashed in on, I would do it.
I feel like Higgins has the ceiling, but I think his risk is also higher because if he goes to one of these,
he goes to one of those high-paid farts.
Yeah, if he goes to a wasteland situation,
stuff.
The James Jones to the Raiders,
right?
Yeah,
I mean, then he vanishes. Where I don't think Nico Collins vanishes next year.
I mean I don't think he vanishes, but I don't know if you will be confident with him as a 1 or 2 on your Dynasty.
He doesn't have the proven track record beyond just 4 games this year, 5 games,
pretty much.
And I know that you can look at whatever his quarterback situation was the first 2 years, but he's really tough because he's not a player that you'd usually bet on. We talked about separation earlier. He's always been kind of a big 50-50 player, and they've transformed him this year to be this intermediate threat. And, I mean, props to what they did there. They turned around an entire franchise in a year. Granted, they gave the Cardinals a pick, but their offense looks like it could continue to be a machine next year with just those 2 guys, Tank Dell.
I'm such a fan of Houston, and I'm so sad about Tank Dell because they were so fun to watch with him. But, yeah, the sky's the limit for that team.
Nico Collins missed Week 10, and had he played in Week 10, he would already be over 1,000 yards. He's at 990 right now.
Which is exactly what Evans just passed this past week.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's pacing.
Or were you whispering something, Kyle?
I was just saying it's not normal for a player who's done nothing their first 2 years to then ascend in their 3rd year all of a sudden and then have staying power on a team that also has another option too. Well, usually it's one or the other.
This is why I think T. Higgins is less of a risk. He's more of a risk to injury, but he's more proven. Nico Collins, is this a Devontae Parker season, or is this the beginning of something great?
Yeah, it's going to be a good discussion. Like, I'm wondering right now, I'm just spitballing. It's like he probably belongs as a top 20 to 20 dynasty wide receiver, 24, somewhere around there. And those are the kind of players that right now, if people are thinking that he's more than that, top 15 or whatever, like you can cash in and get a first and something else, or you get a different player that's maybe a little bit older that's proven like we've talked about. So, yeah, the Texans might be one of the teams that we've talked about the most this year, and we'll talk about a ton this offseason.
What if T. Higgins goes to Houston and it just ruins everything?
Just burns it to the ground?
That's not impossible.
It's not.
And Tank's going to be coming back from injury. That's not impossible. That would burn them both.
It would hurt.
Or it'd be great because CJ Stroud's the next Mahomes. Who knows?
He kind of already is. All right, one more segment.
Take it or leave it.
This is a final parting shot. We wanted to list a player in Dynasty at the end of the bench that you can pay attention to for the final month. We got a couple questions, including one from John, who said, who are some guys at the end of your bench that I just need to pay attention to? Mike, you go first.
So mine is not a name to pay attention to for the final month of the season because he probably will not get any playing time. But this is a nasty boy that you might want to throw on the end of your bench right now, and that is Charlie Jones of the Cincinnati Bengals. He was a production monster, hits very green in the models and everything. He was a 4th-round pick, so the draft capital is not there. However, you have T. Higgins and you have Tyler Boyd, who may no longer be a Cincinnati Bengal, come into the 2024 season, and there is a chance that Charlie Jones just moves, and now he's like the slot wide receiver for the Bengals. This isn't a roster-changing type of a player, but it's someone who might be on your waiver wire right now who could turn into a possible start next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw a wild name out there too from the Raiders in Trey Tucker, just because he demanded a couple weeks ago he had second most targets on the team behind Adams, and if these rumors are true, but Adams forcing himself off of this roster going into next year, the fact he's demanding this many targets on so few snaps, he's got some speed to get down the field. The snaps might be coming his way next year.
It's funny you mentioned his name. When I've watched their games, a couple times I've said, who is that guy? Like on the field from afar. And he was taken earlier than what people thought out of Cincinnati last year. I'm going to throw out the exact opposite body type, Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
He's a monster. He's big. 3rd-round pick on the Cleveland Browns last month. 41, 39, 42, 43 routes run. Only Keenan Allen and Garrett Wilson have ran more routes. Had to throw in a Keenan Allen stat. But he's getting targeted. He's big. And Andy, you mentioned him at the very end of the episode the other day of just like, hey, pay attention to him, and you might be able to get him for a really cheap 3rd-round pick or something. But, I mean, who knows, like, this offense next year, what it looks like. He could easily be the number 2 on this team. Just an interesting name to throw.
Nice.
At the very end. That's going to do it for this episode of the Dynasty Podcast. Go to jointhefoot.com if you want to be a part of everything. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.
Hey, this is Peter Schrager from the podcast The Season with Peter Schrager, and it is football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do they mean by almost? Can Uber Eats deliver you foam fingers? No. Chicken fingers? Yes. Touchdown dances? No. Buttermilk ranches? Yes. Field goals? No. Grilling coals? Yes. And there you have it. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, the official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Product availability may vary by region. See the app for details.